Yes, how is it going, guys? My name's Sana. Welcome to Crypto Bible. I hope you're all well. I've got another video here for you guys diving into one of my favorite coins in Trias. I thought I'd actually do a longer video for you instead of posting a shorter one on there on Twitter because I really wanted to dive into this for you and show you guys exactly what I'm looking for, exactly what I'm seeing, and even our potential short-term targets as well. Okay, if we look over there on Twitter, gotta come off it for a second. Here we go. I actually posted a tweet about Trias. Here we go, this one right here. How would you feel about the below chart? A potential huge cup and handle. This would mean that we may have to consolidate between here and $21 until the handle is complete, followed by a huge breakout back test, then moon. Very bullish scenario. I favor it. Okay. So that is basically what I'm looking for on the Trias chart right here. For those of you that do not know what a cup and handle is, let me quickly just teach you that. Cup and handle is basically this right here. You would have a resistance line, you would create a huge cup, and it would come down and create a little handle, and then eventually looking like a teacup, like a teacup and handle. Then what would typically happen is that you would break out of the resistance line once the handle is complete. It would back test the resistance line, and then it would go off to make new highs, right? So if we take a look at this chart right here in regards to Trias, not long ago when I was doing some TA, we identified that this area right here seemed to have been our last level of resistance. And you can see that is exactly where we came up to. And we seem to have rejected it a little bit. Now, the reason why I believe that 21 between here and $21 was going to be our area to create our cup is simply because if we just take that right there, that was a big level of resistance before we ended up having a big breakthrough. And you can see we have actually bounced on top of that right there. So what I'm basically looking for right now is for Trias to complete the cup and handle. So what I'm going to do quick is just talk you through me creating this pattern here so we can identify it on the Trias chart. Okay, so our resistance line would be this resistance right there. So all we've got to do is just put our line right there, and you can see that is where we found our resistance twice. Okay, now we've got to create our big cup. So all you'd have to do is go from the first level of resistance to the next and put it down, and voila, you have your big cup. Right now, for this next bit, I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart because when I did create this pattern over here on Twitter, I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's going to take too long. It's not to log scale." Because if you look at it the way I drew it out as an example, if you look where that ends up there and you look down below, that takes us into 2022. I do not believe we are going to take that long, to create a cup and handle. Typically they wouldn't actually take too long at all. So I'm going to try and draw this to scale. So if I go to the 4-hour chart here, again, if I zoom out, you can see there is our big cup right there. Okay, there's our $21, and this is how I believe the handle will end up playing out. So we've obviously, I believe we may have found the bottom right there, okay, at that $21 mark. Okay, and I personally believe it's going to look a little bit, like that. I don't think it's going to be the biggest handle in the world, because we all know how bullish Trias is at the moment and the way it moves once it does get going, and it's going to look something like that. Okay, a little bit of a small handle there. It doesn't matter. It is still completely relevant. It still counts. Okay, and then what would typically end up happening, as I said, is that you would get a breakout right there with a back test, and then off you go. So this is the kind of pattern that I'm looking out for Trias right now. We've already completed the big cup. It's all about just getting through the handle, and I do believe that we are halfway through that handle right now. Now, there's one thing I need to point out. When it comes to Trias, we all know how explosive it is, okay? However, handles are not meant to be made explosive, all right? In fact, they're actually made to be pretty slow. And what I mean by that is you want it to curve around like that really perfectly and come back up. So that doesn't mean we're going to get one straight candle back up there like that, okay? That's not a cup and handle. What you actually ideally want is that within the handle, you just kind of want, a bit of volatility. Maybe it goes a bit flat for a few days, and then it starts slowly grinding up, and then it gets back there. Then what it will do is, just kind of figure this area out and then have that breakout probably towards the all-time high. It would come back and back test this resistance line, which is at around $27. And then you would see a big breakout come out. And that is basically what I am expecting Trias to do along the lines of doing, right? Now, how do we figure out what targets we can get out of a cup and handle? Now, how people actually measure them, there's two ways. Okay, people would either get a short-term target and a long-term target. The short-term target is always decided on how far down the handle goes. So if we just assume that our handle is complete and that was indeed our bottom, okay, this is just assuming at this point, how would you actually calculate what's going on right here, okay? So what you'd actually end up having to do is get your price range, okay? And what you do is just measure the full length of your handle. So if we just do that right there, and then you bring that on top of your resistance line, and then where does that bring you? That brings you right there to $32. Oh, wow. What was at our $32? Right there. Okay, cool. Slightly higher. It's in that range anyway, 32.2. That brings us perfectly to our all-time high, okay, which makes complete sense. Bringing us perfectly right back there to our all-time high if we measure the length of how far down our handle went to, okay? So if this is a cup and handle and that is the bottom, which would make sense because even that brings us to our all-time high, that would mean that when we do break our resistance line, we would have an impulsive wave up towards our all-time high, okay? Then what would usually follow after that, okay, everything will find resistance at their all-time high. So it would make sense for the cup and handle to be complete with a back test of the resistance line and then a huge breakthrough, okay? So that is where I would expect some short-term targets to come, would be our next all-time high. That also makes sense because we've already cleared all of our Fibonacci retracements and everything, right? So it begs the question, where does our long-term targets come in? Well, to determine the long-term target or just a higher price target, obviously talking long-term, we're in crypto here, nothing's really that long-term. If I just place our cup here perfectly, because it needs to come down exactly to where our bottom was. So our bottom was right there. Okay, if we do that, all you'd have to do is the same. So you'd get the length of your handle, which would be from the resistance line all the way to the bottom, and then you do the exact same thing. You bring that on top of your resistance line right there. Let's just make sure that is pinpoint perfect. Just like that. Let's zoom out and have a look and see where that brings us to. Cool. That brings us to this level over here, $50. Very possible. Why is that very possible? Well, you guys know exactly what I like to do when it comes to showing you guys my TA. I like to use Fibonacci retracements. We know that Trias has cleared all the retracements. However, I determine my targets on extensions as well. So if we get the full Fibonacci retracement tool and we place it on top right there, and we take a look at our extensions, where's our first extension? The first level that I would expect Trias to find some resistance on the way up after its all-time high would be at the first extension, which comes in at $50.1, the 1.618. Okay, where does our cup bring us to? If we measure from the top to the bottom, that brings us right there to around $51. Okay, so again, even that's adding up as well. The cup is adding up in regards to our first major level of resistance after breaking our all-time high at $50, the 1.618 extension, and the cup is bringing us right there to our previous all-time high. All right, so you can see right there, guys, that although we are at the moment speculating that this is a cup and handle and that the handle is halfway through being complete, it actually makes sense if we place our targets on top as well. Because without the cup and handle, if I just took absolutely everything off, what would I say if I'm just basing everything off our Fibonacci retracement tool? I'd be saying, cool, right here, we've broken all of our retracements. Our final retracement is the 0.786 retracement. You can see, we've already broken that. That's fine. So I would say, cool, our next level of resistance would simply be our all-time high. Well, that is where our handle brings us to, okay? After breaking that, without looking at anything else, where would I say our next level of resistance would come in after our all-time high? I would say right there at $50, okay? And that is where our cut brings us to in regards to that target as well, okay? So everything is kind of lining up in regards to it being a cup and handle right there. And, this would line up as well, saying that, it would consolidate between here and $21. And obviously what I mean by the whole consolidation thing would simply be that we are just going to kind of grind our way back up towards our resistance line. Okay, so if our resistance line is right there, all I'm kind of expecting here is just, a very slow grind up and complete that handle, work out this area, have a breakthrough, come back and back test it, and then off you go. Okay, so that is basically what I am expecting for Trias. Hopefully you've learned what a cup and handle is as well in this video. So that would be quite handy for you guys to move into your technical analysis yourselves. But yeah, guys, I do believe it is that until I am told different by the chart. So, you know, once the chart does something completely different, or we start breaking down, or we fire up completely from here, cool. You know, I'm more than happy to admit I was wrong. You can't always be right about these things. And like I said, right now, I am just speculating that we are halfway through the handle. And I believe that at this moment in time, we've probably seen the bottom, and we're just going to kind of be, you know, having a slow grind back up to complete that handle. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please be sure to leave a like. I wanted to thank all of you for all of the support that you've given me on Twitter. It's been great. And I'm really feeling the love every time I post something on there. So thank you very much for all of that. Leave a like and subscribe if you have not already for more content. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Take it easy, people.